I don't really believe in karma or fate or any of that. What goes around comes around stuff. At least I didn't until that night. It was late March, and the cold still hung around longer than it should have. I was 30, broke and tired, not the kind of tired that a good night's sleep fixes, but the kind that settles somewhere deep in your bones. I'd been working at a hardware store for a little over 2 years, barely scraping by. My rent was always late. My car was one bad week away from dying for good, and my checking account hadn't seen more than 3 digits in months. That night I was walking home because my old Honda refused to start again. It was only a 20-minute walk, but it felt longer in the dark. The streetlights in my neighborhood were the kind that flickered like they were haunted, and the sidewalks were cracked enough to twist an ankle if you weren't careful. I stopped by a small gas station on the corner to grab something cheap for dinner, maybe a microwavable burrito and a cup of instant coffee. When I reached for my wallet, I realized I had exactly $20 left. Not "I'll get paid tomorrow," 20, I mean. This is all I've got to my name until Friday 20. I hesitated at the counter. The clerk, a kid probably fresh out of high school, scanned my items without even looking up. Behind me, someone cleared their throat. "Excuse me," a voice said, a man's voice, rough and uncertain. I turned around, and there he was, this guy in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. His clothes were worn, the kind of worn that doesn't come from style but from too many nights outside. His beard was patchy, his hands calloused, and he held a small paper cup like it was something fragile. "Hey man," he said quietly. "Sorry to bother you, but could you spare a few bucks? I just need to get a sandwich or something warm. Haven't eaten since yesterday." The clerk glanced up for the first time, his eyes saying, "Don't cause trouble here." I don't know why, but my stomach twisted. Normally, I just shake my head. I mean, hell, I could barely feed myself. But something about this guy's eyes stopped me. He wasn't high, not drunk, not hustling. Just empty. Like life had taken everything from him and he was too tired to ask for it back. I looked down at the $20 bill in my hand. That was gas money, food money, rent money if I stretched it right. "Sure," I said, before my brain had time to argue. I handed him the 20. He blinked, surprised. "Are you sure, man?" he asked, like he didn't believe it. "Yeah," I said. "Get yourself something real to eat, maybe a place to sit inside for a bit." He stared at me for a moment, like he wanted to say something else, then nodded slowly. "God bless you," he murmured. "You have no idea what this means." And just like that, he was gone out the door into the cold. I walked home that night with an empty wallet and a strange heaviness in my chest. I wasn't sure if I'd done something good or something stupid. I heated up an old can of soup and went to bed hungry. The week that followed was rough. I overdrafted my account twice, had to borrow $10 from a coworker just to make it to payday. Every time I opened my fridge, I thought about that $20 bill and felt this mix of frustration and guilt. I tried to convince myself that I'd done the right thing. Someone needed it more than me, right? But that didn't make the late rent notice sting any less. Life just kept moving. I saw new faces at work, same old bills, same broken Honda that refused to die but also refused to live. I stopped thinking about the guy. Honestly, I figured I'd never see him again. Until about 3 months later. It was a humid June morning, and I just started my shift at the store. I was running the register when this man walked in wearing a clean shirt, jeans that actually fit, and a baseball cap pulled low. He looked vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place him. He walked straight up to me, smiling like he knew something I didn't. "Hey," he said, "you probably don't remember me." I looked at him again. Then it hit me, the eyes. Those same tired eyes, only now they weren't empty anymore. "You're the guy from the gas station," I said slowly. He nodded. "Yeah, I've been hoping I'd run into you again." Before I could say anything, he reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. "This is for you," he said, sliding it across the counter. "And before you say anything, no, it's not charity, it's gratitude." I frowned, glancing inside. It was cash, a lot of it, hundreds of dollars, crisp, folded bills. "Whoa, whoa, what is this?" I asked. He chuckled softly. "Let's just say, things turned around for me. I checked myself into a shelter that night. Got some help, found work with a construction company a few towns over. Been saving up. That 20 you gave me, that was the first act of kindness I'd seen in years. It changed everything for me. I promised myself that if I ever got back on my feet, I'd pay it forward." I tried to push the envelope back toward him. "Man, I can't." He shook his head. "Don't argue. You gave me a start when I had nothing. I'm just closing the loop." He smiled again, the kind of smile that makes you realize the world isn't as cruel as it seems. Then he turned and left before I could even thank him properly. When I counted it later, there was exactly $200 inside, 10 times what I'd given him. That night I sat in my tiny apartment, staring at that envelope. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something I hadn't in years: hope. After that day, I couldn't stop thinking about him, about the envelope, the way he smiled when he said, "closing the loop." It felt surreal, like something out of one of those feel-good posts you scroll past on Reddit thinking, "Yeah, right, that never really happens." But it did. It happened to me. The thing is, the money itself was what hit me hardest. $200 was great. It covered my overdue bills and groceries for a week. But what really stuck was the feeling behind it. For the first time in months, I felt connected, like maybe the world noticed me again. I'd been drifting for so long, going to work, coming home, microwaving whatever was cheap, falling asleep to the sound of my neighbor's TV through the wall. That envelope was the first jolt of light I'd had in a dark tunnel. A week later, I decided to do something different. There was this diner 2 blocks from my apartment, Maggie's Place. I passed it every morning on the way to work but never went in because, well, diners weren't in my budget. But that Friday, after cashing my paycheck, I walked in. The smell hit me first: coffee, bacon, and that faint sweetness of maple syrup clinging to the air. There were maybe 5 people inside. 2 old guys arguing about baseball, a young mom feeding her toddler pancakes, and a waitress with tired eyes and a name tag that said Maggie. I ordered pancakes and coffee, sat in the corner booth, and for once didn't check my bank balance before paying. When I went to leave, I noticed a small handwritten sign near the register. Community Breakfast Fund, buy a meal for someone in need. Next to it was a small jar, half empty. Without thinking too much, I pulled out $40 from the envelope, half of what I had left, and slipped it in. Maggie looked up in surprise. "That's generous, hun," she said. "You sure?" I smiled. Someone helped me out when I needed it, just paying it forward. She nodded slowly, like she understood exactly what that meant. That small act turned into a habit. Every week I'd drop by Maggie's, have coffee, maybe breakfast if I could afford it, and add a few bucks to that jar. I didn't tell anyone why. I didn't expect anything back. It just felt right. Funny thing, when you start doing small good things, the world starts nudging back in ways you don't notice right away. One morning, about 2 months later, I was at work helping a customer pick out paint colors. She was this older woman, maybe mid-60s, polite but nervous. She mentioned she just moved to town to be closer to her daughter and wanted to repaint her house, to make it feel new again. We chatted for a while and I helped her find the right color palette, something soft, warm, a kind of faded peach she said reminded her of her late husband. She thanked me for taking time to help her. 2 days later she came back, not to buy anything, but to find me. She handed me a brown paper bag. "Just a small thank you," she said. Inside was a homemade pie, apple and cinnamon still warm. I hadn't had a home-cooked anything in months. I tried to refuse, but she insisted. We talked for a bit again. Her name was Helen, and she reminded me a bit of my grandmother. That small thing, that pie, made my week. And that's when it hit me. Maybe kindness wasn't this big, heroic gesture. Maybe it was a quiet chain, moving from person to person, sometimes invisible but always alive. About a year passed. My life didn't turn into a movie, no sudden lottery wins or dream jobs, but things got lighter. I got promoted to assistant manager. My old Honda finally gave up, but a coworker sold me his truck cheap. I had a little savings. I even started taking night classes at the community college business management. Then one morning, as I was locking up after closing the store, I saw a familiar face standing by the parking lot. It was him, the guy from the gas station, the one I'd given the 20 to. He looked different again, healthier, confident, like someone who'd found his footing. He grinned when he saw me. "Hey man," he said, "you got a minute?" We went to the diner, Maggie's of course, and caught up. He told me his name was Earl, that he'd been working steady, saving money, even helping out at the same shelter that got him back on his feet. Then he said something that stopped me cold. "You know that diner fund, the one where you buy meals for strangers?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, why?" He smiled. "That thing saved me too. Couple months back, a kid came in from out of town, broke, hungry, scared. Maggie told him someone had already paid for his meal, said he almost cried when she told him." He took a sip of coffee. "You started something, man. People talk about it around town now, Maggie's jar. Folks drop cash in it all the time." I just sat there stunned. I didn't even realize how far that ripple had gone. Earl leaned back and laughed. "Funny thing, huh? You give $20 to a stranger and next thing you know, you've got a whole town feeding each other." Later that night, walking home, I thought about how full circle everything felt. That first $20 had turned into so much more. Not just the 200 he gave back, but the quiet proof that good things echo, even when no one's keeping score. And maybe that was the real lesson. You never know what your smallest kindness can grow into. Still, life being what it is, it didn't stay easy. A few months later, the hardware store downsized. My boss called me into his office, said it wasn't personal, just budget cuts. I was out of a job. For the first time in years, I felt that same weight creeping back in. Rent was due. Bills were stacking up. I tried to stay calm, telling myself things would work out, but the fear hit hard. I updated my resume, applied everywhere I could, warehouses, delivery gigs, whatever. No luck. After 3 weeks, I was down to my last couple $100 again. One night I found myself walking past Maggie's, staring through the window. It was late. The lights were dim, just Maggie wiping down counters. I almost kept walking, but something, maybe pride, maybe exhaustion, made me step inside. She looked up and smiled softly. "Hey, stranger, haven't seen you in a while." "Yeah," I said, taking a seat. "Life's been rough lately." She poured me coffee without asking. "You want the usual?" I nodded. When I went to pay afterward, she waved me off. "Don't worry about it," she said. "Someone already covered your meal." I blinked. "Wait, what?" She smiled wider. "Yeah, one of your regulars came in earlier, left cash, and said, if he ever comes by again, tell him it's on me." I sat there quiet, my throat tightened. It didn't even matter who it was. Maybe Earl, maybe someone else. But I realized the loop wasn't closing this time. It was still going. That night, walking home under the same flickering streetlights where it all began, I laughed. Not because everything was suddenly fine, but because for the first time I truly believed it would be. It had been about 6 months since I lost my job at the hardware store. Life wasn't perfect, far from it, but it felt lighter. Somehow, the small acts of kindness I'd put into the world had built this invisible safety net, and weirdly, it seemed like the universe had taken notice. One Monday morning, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it, assuming it was spam, but something made me pick up. "Hi," said a crisp, professional voice. "Is this Daniel Harper?" Yes, my heart started to race. "My name's Claudia. I'm with Evergreen Supply. We received your resume through a community referral program, and your experience stood out. Would you be available for an interview today?" I froze. The last interview I had gone to was 2 months ago, and it had been a disaster. This felt different. The interview itself was nothing short of surreal. Evergreen was a small but growing company, the kind of place where they noticed effort, not just degrees. I told them about my experience at the hardware store, my little projects, the customer service I'd honed over the years. At the end, the manager smiled. "We like your attitude. We'll be in touch soon." 2 days later, I got the call. I was in. A full-time position, better pay, benefits, and a path for promotion. Walking out of the building that day, I laughed to myself. This was it. After months of scraping by, something finally felt like it could stick. But life had more than just financial ups and downs. A few weeks into my new job, I was volunteering at the local community center one evening, helping organize a small fundraiser. That's when I met Sophie. Sophie had this quiet confidence. She was working on a nonprofit project for underprivileged kids in town, and I was instantly drawn to her passion. We started talking about small, seemingly insignificant things, favorite books, coffee spots, the weather, and then the conversation deepened. We both laughed at how cliché it sounded. "You changed my life in ways you'll never know." But it wasn't cliché. Somehow, after months of feeling invisible, I felt noticed. Over the next few months, our friendship grew. Dinners, long walks, talks that lasted until midnight. I realized slowly but surely I was falling for her. Then came the unexpected part. One Friday, I was closing the store, just finishing my shift, when Earl walked in. The guy from the gas station, the one I'd given $20 to months ago. He handed me an envelope. My heart skipped a beat. "Open it," he said, grinning. Inside was a check. Not 200 this time, not even 500. It was $5,000. "What, how?" I stammered. Earl laughed. "Man, remember the first $20? That little act of kindness you did for me. That loop. I finally got my footing. Started a small investment side gig. Made some good calls, and honestly, I wanted to pay it forward to the guy who believed in me when I had nothing." I couldn't speak. $5,000. Not a fortune, but enough to clear debts, fix the old truck, maybe even start saving for something more permanent. A week later at Maggie's, I found her quietly watching me sit down. "You look lighter," she said softly. "I feel lighter," I admitted. Thanks to all of you honestly." She smiled. It's like the universe has this funny way of giving back when people do good. Things started snowballing after that. With the extra cash, I finally fixed up my apartment and painted the walls, replaced the old couch, bought a small bookshelf. I even started cooking again, something I'd neglected for years. Sophie and I started dating officially. Our relationship wasn't perfect. We argued, disagreed, and sometimes life hit us with unexpected curveballs. But we were both committed, and it felt like every small act of kindness I had put into the world had quietly led me here. Then came the real kicker, the ultimate proof of the ripple effect. One evening, I received a LinkedIn message from a stranger, a man named Tom, who I didn't know personally, but who had been referred to me by someone at Evergreen. "I heard about your work helping at the community center," the message read. "I run a small tech startup and we're looking for someone with integrity, patience, and leadership. We're offering an equity position, no strings attached, and I wanted to see if you were interested." I stared at my phone, my mind racing. Equity, leadership, a position that could actually change the trajectory of my life. I accepted. Fast forward 6 months. I'm managing a small team, helping build a product that could impact thousands of people. Sophie is my constant, the person who keeps me grounded. Maggie's Diner is still my weekend ritual. Earl, he's my partner in minor ventures, a friendship solidified by a $20 bill that changed everything. The strange thing about it all, I never expected any of this. That one act of giving a small $20 gesture to a stranger in need had spiraled into something I couldn't have imagined. Financial stability, love, community respect, a sense of purpose, all from a single, selfless act. It's funny the way Reddit-style stories are told online. People love drama, betrayal, heartbreak. They upvote the chaos. But sometimes life hands you the quiet, unexpected victories, the kind that aren't flashy, but they feel infinitely heavier, infinitely more satisfying. I think about that night all the time, walking home, empty pockets, feeling like nothing could ever go right. And now, years later, that moment feels like a different life. A past me, struggling, desperate, yet somehow unknowingly planting the seeds for something far bigger. Sometimes I catch myself smiling at the absurdity of it all. A small $20 bill, a stranger's trust, a community jar, a homemade pie, a kind word, and suddenly everything changes. Life doesn't need to be a grand story of luck or magic. Sometimes it's just the quiet chain of kindness, small, seemingly insignificant, but transformative in ways you'll never fully realize. I often write about this online, trying to encourage people, even when it feels like you have nothing, even when you're drowning in bills, debt, heartbreak, loneliness. Small acts of good matter. They echo farther than you think. And sometimes, just sometimes, they come back to you tenfold. I gave my last $20 to a stranger when I was broke. Months later, he returned it multiplied by 10. Along the way, that act sparked a chain of kindness, community connections, unexpected opportunities, and even love. Life is stranger and kinder than you think.